Hey guys, welcome back to another video from VBA A to Z. My name is Long Pamay, and in today's video I'll be showing you step by step on how to use the powerful list view control in UserForm. If you missed our prior videos, you can find them from the playlist called Professional UI/UX. As always, project files and source codes are free for download and use. The only request from you is to support my channel so I can keep sharing all these useful videos. So before we begin, please do not forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon for upcoming videos. A list view can be used to display a collection of items in a controlled way. It provides several ways to arrange and display items and are much more flexible and powerful than the list boxes. For example, additional information about an element or an item can be displayed with an icon and the labels and captions. Not all the properties are accessible in the user form without extending it through APIs like grouping items. But if you're interested to read more about it, I'll leave a link in the video description so you can go through it whenever you have time, and I'm happy to answer if you have any questions. If you do not see list view control or image control in your user form toolbox, please find the link to install from the video description. Before we jump right into it, I'll give a quick demo of some of the work I've done. Loading the first form. This is like the list view that I've added to the user form. As you can see, there's a grid line, there's a hover effect on the selected item. For the amount, you can see the amount lister in negative or in red, like positive ones in blue with the formatting. I think the header, clickable header buttons, and so on. And then second view, this one basically is demonstrating that you can add a checkbox to the column, and then once you check an item, you can see what has been checked and what is the status, so you can read that. You can also enable multiple selection like the list box, and then you can loop through and get the item that has been selected. Here you've seen, like in the first view, that the row height by normal comes in this fashion. So if you have to increase the height of the row, there's no property to set that, but there's a small way to accomplish that. So this particular view basically try to show you that. And once you click on an item, you'll see that you are able to read an element like this. Okay, so here you can see the first column, second column value, and third column value, and so on. Going to the next one, this one again, this basically all the icons that you can add within the list view. This is just a demonstration. This icons actually does not symbolize anything at the moment. It's just a way to demonstrate that you can add those in this fashion. So with the icon, the label, just the text, and then here just the icon, text, and then here is an icon with the text, and here you see is the text, and so on. Okay, so we'll go about like how to create that as well. And loading this up, this one here is like again the list view, but in this list view you can drag an element, like within the list view you can move an element like this in this fashion. And the last one, I think basically here is the height of the row that you can set, and then these are similar to the ones we have looked in the first one. Let's start creating a new form. Insert a new form, and here we're gonna insert a list view. And if you do not see this list view control, right click on the like on the toolbox, and then go to your additional controls, and then you find you scroll through and find Microsoft List View. Here it is. So you find this. The version could be different for you, so check this box and then click on OK. So once you have it, you select that and draw it into your form. So we'll start with something basic. Here you can rename the like any controls. You can select the item, and then you can set the name to it. Let's call this maybe this view 1, something like that. And the appearance could be flat, and then the border style, you can fix it. You can put it to none. Checkbox, you can set all these properties from the code as well. So we'll not go too much into it for now. You can set the background, you can set the picture, and so on, but you will not be able to set the row colors, differentiation, and all this, though you can set the for color. Okay, let me add one button here, and we'll say add items, something like that. So if I load this up now, nothing happens. Now we'll start creating adding some items. Okay, we'll say list item as and list item itself. Okay, and then we'll say with me dot list lv1. So that's the name we've already put. And here you can say, you can specify the view type. It could be we'll start with the report with the default layout, and then you can specify the grid lines. Basically, we're trying to now accomplish our first view like this. Okay, so going back to the code, and here you can say hide column headers to false so that the columns are visible. So if I do this now, just the grid lines, no headers yet. So now let's add a header. I'll replicate this block. I'll tell you why in some time. So we'll say here column headers dot add. Here index and key, something you can leave it as default so that the control will take care of that. So comma, comma, and then within the text you can maybe say something like first name, and here you specify the width, something like 79, and then replicate the block. This can be the last name, so, and then the same width. So load it again. So here first name, last name, that is the column. Okay, so now you know how to add set a view of some properties has been assigned, and then here you're adding a column. Now let's add the list item. Okay, so talking about the list item are, in the most layman term, you can say it's like a row within a table. Okay, so with the list view, let's add an item. We'll say set, or like whatever we declared earlier here, we'll say equal to dot list items dot add, and then within here you can specify the index again. The key, we'll just leave it as default. The first value could be my name, like this, for example. We'll leave it like that. And then the second value could be this has to be list sub items dot add, and then here you can again leave the default for index and the key, and then the text that you want to add could be PMI, like this. This is a demo, so we'll just try to load this up and run this. So Lung PMI has been added. Okay, so let's say that you want to do more blocks. You can, of course, you can like replicate the block in this fashion, and then you can say Sharon, something like that. Okay, instead of doing that, now we'll try to loop through and then add items. Okay, so now I'm gonna make this comment so that later on you can play around and you can still have a reference to what we've learned. You can download this from the video description. Okay, now we'll declare more variables. Let's call this dim r to symbolize our row number, which will be a number type, and replicate this, and we'll call this two variables c and r. Now we'll use c to loop through and add columns. Okay, I'll say for c is equal to 0 to, so the column starts from 1 to 11. I'll say 10, and then next C. Okay, one thing to note here is that the list column starts from 0, but the cells, like our sheet, this, like the worksheet starts from 1. So here we're looping from 0 to 10, and then instead of the first name, which is at the moment, static value will say the header is going to be cells, and then it's going to be the first row, and then whatever the column is here. So C plus 1, that will be the first row, first row, first column, right? And then the width could be whatever the cell width is at the moment, like this. So let's try to run this. So you see it has added all the headers. Let's expand this. That's better. Okay, going back. So now similarly we'll do this by looping through all the cells, and then we'll add more items. So I'm gonna copy it down here for you so that you can replicate it if you want. Okay, I'm gonna remove this, and instead of these static values we'll start adding values by looping through that. So here we have already assigned R will be a number. As a demonstration, we'll loop from row number 2 till 97. So R is equal to 2 to 97, and then this is going to be next R. Again, this list item is like a row representing a row within the list view. And then here we'll say whatever is the R at that moment, and then let's see, 1, column number 1, cells is supposed to be. And then here I'm gonna say so this is from column number 1, column number 2. So the code is gonna loop through each row like this, 1, 2, and so on. And at that time I'm assigning a value from each column like this. So far only 2. Let's try to load this and see if it works. So it has added all the values, so we replicate this for all of them. So you can loop through and do this one as well, similar to what we've done here. But for simplicity's sake, again, I'll just like do this, replicate the blocks 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and the last one is 11. Okay, so run this, and then you can see it has loaded the whole table from the backend to your list view. Now you can see the numbers are still like in the format, like it's not set yet. Let's try to set that. So here I can say format, and then here you can set a specific format. So let's see what format has been set here. Control 1 will bring up this window, and let me copy this and put it here. If I run this now, the like all the like formatting is done without the for colleague yet. Let me just get rid of this. That looks better. So one quick thing, we'll try to use this the list sub item, like I will say theme. We'll just call this ListCell, or like this is basically list sub item, something like that, as list sub item. Okay, and then down here I'm gonna say set list item equal to you could specify whatever list has been added up here. So list sub item, and then you can specify the index. So I'll just say 10. That will be starting from 0 till 11, so that's going to be 10 for the last. Okay, and then here I can say this dot for color is equal to VB blue. Okay, I think I misspelled it, sorry. So if I run this now, all of them are blue. Now we can put a validation. We can say that if this value, or we can just declare one more variable. We can say dim amount as currency is fine. Then we'll say amount is equal to this. Format this. Okay, now we can utilize that, so we don't have to keep on specifying cells all the time. And here we can say if amount is lesser than 0, sorry, then we can say we want to have it as red, else gonna be blue. Okay, so let's try this. So now it looks okay. So this is our first view. Again, remember that this is the row height is standard. You cannot, like increase or decrease that. And the headers, the background of this particular row cannot be changed. Only the selected items can be, like highlighted. Okay, so now let's quickly dive into how to add checkbox. So we can just say this dot checkbox equal to true. Okay, so if I load this now, there's a checkbox. So you can only add a checkbox to one of the column within the list view. But let's say that you want to have the checkbox somewhere else, not in the first column, so you can move around this particular column. Okay, so let's try that. List view on dot column headers, and then you can specify which column. So you'll have to specify only when this is already assigned. And here we'll say the first column we want to move, assign a position maybe to 5th, something like that. And let's run this. So you can see this particular username, which was in the first column, has now moved here. Okay, so I think this covers our first view and our second view. Okay, one small thing, we want to see when the item is checked or unchecked. We want to be able to read that, right? So coming back here, once you double click on this is the list view name, and then you can have, like access to these events. So let's select the item click. So from here we can say that when the item is clicked, we can return the, like the value to some text box. Let's add the text box very quickly. Maybe just change the appearance a little bit. Okay, so let's say that me dot set the text box value to whatever item was selected, something like that. Item dot text. So when it is checked, it is showing us the value, and let's say that we want to read the status as well. We can also use the clicked. If we use this, it's always gonna return us. We can also specify which item has been clicked. First, let's see the status. Item.text and item.checked. I think that should do. So it says true, and then it says false. Whatever item has been selected, here this part is the status. Okay, so maybe we'll just bifurcate this for now, something like this. So this username has been checked, unchecked. Okay, that's how you'll retrieve. So by default, you are not able to set the height of the, of the row. So what I did was, first I created a small icon. Here I added something like this. Really doesn't matter, but so here I took like an image. Okay, so that I'll set the height of the row based on the image after adding that to the list view. So let's say this is the height. Let's say, like it could be anything, could be as per your requirement. Let's say I want the height of the row to be this tall, so you can take it in this fashion, and I'll export it here as row height, something like this. Okay, and coming back here, when this is running, I can specify that to, to the properties. So before we can do that, we'll have to load the image to our to the image control. So let's bring in the image list. So this image list is basically, here you can load the images, but you will not be able to see it directly from here, but you can utilize this object from other controls, which is in this example from the list view. So going back to our code here, we'll say that This shows small example dot image list dot list images, and then we'll add, and then index and the key will just leave it as it is, or you can even specify the key. This could be like image 1 or something like this. And then here you can specify, you cannot directly put in the link, you have to use this function load picture. Then here you specify the path. So this workbook dot path, and then whatever list was JPG, is it? So this one JPG, this is what we want to add, and with. So basically here we have added one image to this particular control, okay? And we're gonna now assign this to the list view. So here down here, I can specify that can set it to the image list. Okay, so let's try to load this now. We'll not put in the index, we'll just put in the key and then the picture. Let's try this. So now the row height has increased based on the height that was, like set for the icon. Okay, now going back, let's say that we reduce the height a little bit and try it more. One more example. So let's make this a little bit shorter, something like this. This time we'll say this 2. Go back to the code, set this to 2. So now it has become, the row height has decreased a little bit. Okay, so this is how you can set the height of the list view as per your requirement. Okay, that is one way to do it. Now let's go to the next one. Now we'll start looking at, we already started in a sense, but I'll show you how to add all these icons to the list view that we have right now.